Everybody, thank you. This is a sort of not really a follow-up, but I was on a webinar, a UD webinar a few days ago about DMPTool, which I have been sort of familiar with, sort of over the years as a librarian, and then kind of certainly, in the last kind of update of NIMOR's policies, there's been talk about the DMPTool. It's always been kind of recommended as a resource, but for NIMOR's folks, it's now kind of the required tool to comply with the new NIH data mandates, data management and sharing policy. NIMOR has decided that DMPTool is the sort of the go-to for data management, and it's sort of highlighted here, all NIMOR's investigators who propose research must use the DMPTool. If the DMPTool is not used, pre-award will return the proposal to the investigator. So, there may be many of you or some of you who are not familiar with DMPTool, and maybe you're not familiar with what data management plans are in general. I sort of dipped in and out of this over the years as a librarian. The very first data inventory that I did for an institution was when I worked for the National, the Philadelphia, I can't remember the name of the institution now, but it was very sort of typical of the time where we would go around and ask researchers, where they kept their data from projects, whether they be funded or grant funded. And I think you still hear a little bit of that, but some of them would be, well, that hard drive is in that filing cabinet. Oh yeah, I printed out those spreadsheets and they're in a file somewhere. So, it was the Academy of Natural Sciences, and, it was a while ago, so the technology was different and sort of expectations were different, but, there's still a little bit of that around. And, over the years, grant funding organizations and NIH have tightened up on expectations for data management. At least with the NIH, part of the incentive for data management is to maintain research integrity, because there's a significant amount of research integrity violations that are about data manipulation, and data has always been sort of, the back end of data has always been a little bit opaque as far as kind of peer review and authentication is concerned. And so, we're moving into this phase now where data is visible so that it can be, it's very much more complex now. So, these data management plans are now essential and required. And the type of things that are covered in, a sort of a data management plan as a concept, really the DMPTool responds to those. So, how will you acquire your data? What standards will you use? What kind of terminology and descriptions? And, will you apply to metadata? Where and how will you store it? Who's in charge of it? How will it be protected for privacy purposes? And of course, how will you comply with the data mandates? So the DMPTool is, a free online resource, dmptool.org, web-based. Anybody can sign up for it. When you sign up, you have to provide the name of an institution, and we're in that kind of typical, the name ambiguity of NIMOR's is still kind of resolving. It's looked to me, I had an account, I set up an account when I started at NIMOR's, and it looked a little bit different because I hadn't at that point seen the name options. And if you have not already set up a DMPTool account, it looks to me like it's very important to specifically select the NIMOR's Children's Health System, NIMOR's.org as your institution above all the other sort of names. That's partly because, NIMOR's, the Office of Sponsored Projects has an implementation. I wasn't actually aware of this until I signed up for an account, signed into an account yesterday. And so there are resources and assets associated with our DMPTool instance if you affiliate correctly. So affiliating with let me go back, the NIMOR's Children's Health System. Like, I don't know whether if you choose any of these other ones, it will necessarily recognize. It could be, but to make sure that you get into the right instance and have access to the sort of the various, pluses that are available in DMPTool for Nemours affiliates, it's important to choose the Nemours Children's Health System one. Now, UD people, if you sign up with your udel.edu email account, it looks like it automatically recognizes that affiliation and brings you to the UD instance of DMPTool, which again has specific assets, connections, resources that are, available to UD affiliated people. So it's not just kind of it can just be sort of an open tool with the resources that are available for everybody. But if you affiliate correctly, you can get additional resources and assets that may be helpful. For instance, here you can see there's a link to the Office of Sponsored Projects email address, so you can email them directly from the site. When you log in, you see the Nemours logo if you're a Nemours person, the UDEL sort of header if you're a UDEL person, and then you can start to create projects. There are a lot of, I'm looking here at the funder requirements link in the tab. There are many, many, many templates and resources and guidances to different funding agencies. The NIH, particularly well, sort of the federal agencies are particularly well represented in DMPTool with templates and guidance and instructions. You see here, the National Institutes of Health Data Management Plan, Policy of Data Management and Sharing. And where you see create, you can create a new plan for your project directly out of the appropriate agency template. And you see that create a new plan column. If you click either of those links there, it will generate a new project with the sort of the specific requirements of that funding agency. So that, does some of the work for you. And this is what that looks like. It sort of brings in a template with all the appropriate fields. It has kind of an example plan. It has kind of guidance and instructions on one side. So, these things are, not necessarily complicated, but they are specific. And, you do need to be responsive to all of the things they want you to be responsive to. So it's very nice to see this template. So again, different agencies, different organizations that provided templates. There are also available in all of the DMPTool instances, sort of free example, fully fleshed out data management plans that people have submitted to, be available to the community. So you can see, a fully realized data management plan for different agencies that is an actual real project that somebody, submitted and was successful with. So, there are many different resources on here that can guide you through the process of doing a DMP. And then, again, with the UD has the same service with the Nemours service. Once you've completed a plan, and actually I don't know if it even has to be complete, but once you're working on a plan, at any point you can submit it to, here it's the Office of Sponsored Projects. I'm not sure who it is at UDEL, but a similar entity. And then, they will review it and respond to it and sort of feedback on it before you finalize and submit it with the grant. So, that's what I'm sort of interested in, seeing how the library can be sort of a resource for this project. There were many, many, many Nemours people on the UD webinar a few days ago. I'm not sure that anybody on this webinar was there, but I'm certainly happy to sort of entertain any ideas that people might have of, what the library here at Nemours could do to be sort of useful in supporting the Office of Sponsored Projects, individual researchers, as far as kind of providing, any sort of additional links and resources to DMPTool and DMPTool related training. So thanks a lot. And thanks, Erin, for letting me pinch it. And, feel free to send me any inquiries or questions, and I'll see you again soon.